been sent this parcel all the way from Michigan. So I think Michigan to Worthing in West Sussex, the UK, is about 4,000 miles. Hi Matt from Michigan. $117 to post this parcel. Well, not what I thought it was. Show you, mate. Thanks Matt from Michigan, sending me a fan. That'll do nice at this time of year. It's now October, and in the UK we definitely don't need a fan in October. Well, let's have a look at the quality of this gas fan. And we have a note. Hello Andy, thank you for covering this Range Rover Classic steering wheel. Okay, thank you Mark for the steering wheel. One Range Rover steering wheel. Matt has asked me to cover this steering wheel. So some of you might have seen me cover a Range Rover Classic steering wheel. It is a little bit different, this one. It's a two-tone wheel. So he's having black centre, black to about here, and then white on the bottom. I think he's having a bit of a panda theme going on in his Range Rover. I think, I could be wrong, but I'm sure I read his email and the word panda was mentioned in that. So yeah, black and white. So I've took off this centre boss here. The centre is a relatively easy part of this job, but it's the one I will do first. And the wheel will get fully covered. Now some Range Rover Classics had a steering wheel cover on them, but it was just a leather one that went just over the actual rim of the wheel, none of the spokes, not in the centre. So I'm going to have to do this obviously different to how Range Rover would have done it. So I will cover from about here. What I'll do is I'll find the line here, I'll mark it on the wheel, and that's where the colour change will be in line with this bit here. First job is to deal with this bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mould leather onto this. I'm going to wet some leather, oversized. I'm going to stretch it over this, leave it for, well, till the leather dries. So that should be 2 or 3 days. But that's not a problem because I'm going to be working on the wheel for the rest of the time. It will take less than a day to do the wheel and this in real time, but waiting time is 3 or 4 days. Depending on how well the leather dries, how quick it dries. In summer it dries quite quickly, but in winter, we are October now, it dries a little bit slower. So I'm going to select some leather. So the white leather that I've got isn't quite white enough. Don't know whether you can see that, but to me that's not really white enough. So I'm going to have to order some leather, just for this little white bit here. I see how small I can get a piece. Normally the minimum I can buy is half a hide, and what I've got on the bench here is half a hide. Just short of, I've had some off this. So I'll get on with the black parts once I've ordered the white leather, and then yeah, it'll be on hold till the leather turns up. So it'll be a couple of days until I actually start on the rest of this wheel, but I can do this centre bit here. So I've selected the pieces of leather that I'm going to use for the steering wheel, and the first thing is dealing with this. Now I need to cut a piece of leather a reasonable size bigger than this. Plenty. So that's all that I need. So I'll go and wet this now. I'm going to wet it really well. This leather's now pretty wet. I'm sure you can see how wet it is. I'm just going to rub some of the water into it and give it a little bit of a stretch as I do it. That'll just open up the fibres a little bit more, let more water get in. Now if you notice, when I come to stretch it this way, it doesn't stretch quite as much. Leather's a little bit like that. It has more stretch in one direction than the other, so when you come to cut anything out that you need stretching, you need to kind of work out which way it needs to stretch best. So I'm just going to place this on the top. All I'm going to do, I'm going to pull it and staple it. These staples are just going to hold it in place while the leather dries. So I'm going to start in the centre here and work my way around. Now chances are I'll have to take some staples out of just get it to a point where it's on and it's wrinkle free on the front. Trying to get rid of all the wrinkles on the back is, I wouldn't say impossible, but it's quite tricky, but it can be done. I always get asked the same question when I do any stapling, and the question is, what staples do I use? These are type 71s, and what have we got on here? We've got 8mm here. They come in 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way up to 16mm. I'm going to use some 8mm, and all I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a staple in the centre there. That's just going to hold that in place, and I'm going to now stretch it a little bit. Well, now that I've got that piece in there, I need to stretch everything around here. Now this is where it starts to get a bit tricky, because I've got to stretch things in this way, so this will come here but get stretched like that. It will form a crease here, which I will then manipulate out. So all my staples are going in the back, so I'll manipulate this out a little bit. So all I'm doing is I'm manipulate it one way, staple in, and then manipulate it a little bit the other way, staple in. I'm going to work one side first and then work the other side. Now same with this here, I need to try and get rid of all this leather here, so I'm going to deliberately put a bit of a wrinkle there to be able to pull and just keep pulling and manipulating. Pull that corner in there. So the staples might pop out by themselves. The staples don't actually stick to this properly. There's a metal core inside it which stops the staples. I'm just slowly now trying to work out these wrinkles. So we'll find there. I'm going to manipulate it a bit more. Put a staple in, put two in. I'm going to take that one out and try and get rid of these wrinkles here on this corner. So if you can see, there are wrinkles here, but there's no big wrinkles, and that is obviously on the back of the steering wheel, so you just see that part. So just need to work this one out now. Once I've got it to roughly the shape around here, that's really enough. All the side bits don't need much attention. Maybe this corner here might need some attention, but everything else is just straight. So all I'm doing is I'm pulling the leather and then trying to just drag it with my finger to pull it over a little bit. So I'm manipulating this leather this way a little bit. Then I can staple. I'm going to take the first staple out that I did on this end, and then I can work this into there. So that's the first bit done. So I need to trim all this. It's now just in the way, because I've stretched the leather so much I've got quite a big part left over. So now exactly the same with this side. Try and stretch that as much as possible there. And put one staple in. Oops. Now all I've got to do is work this bit out. You saw what I did before. Just manipulated it as much as I can into here. Right. I'm going to put one staple there. Because leather isn't consistent with its stretch, unlike something like vinyl that's man-made and the stretch is very consistent, leather isn't. You will get patches of leather that are nowhere near as stretchy as others, and patches of leather that are very stretchy. Just need to now manipulate this corner. I'll probably take that staple out. One in the middle. In fact, I put two in the middle, and just sort out these little bits here which come on that curve. I will get rid of some leather. Don't need all that. Don't need all that. I can still cut away a bit in a minute. just want to stretch the leather this way a little bit. Oops. So that's one side completely done. Obviously it's not done because it's not been glued on and the leather is still wet through. But once that leather dries, that will hold the shape of that. So I need to make sure that it's nice before it dries. And stretching into there. Don't need a lot of this leather, so I'm just going to cut it away. It just makes the drying process a little bit quicker if you're not drying out quite as much leather. That's the leather now on there. I need to now put this to one side for a few days. I'm not going to force dry it, I'm just going to leave it somewhere just the room temperature and leave it. The slower it dries out, the better really. If it dries out too quick, potentially it could crack or become quite brittle. So now that I've wait for that, I'm going to mark up the wheel. I need to cut grooves in the wheel to allow for the seams, because obviously we're going to have a seam from the black to the white around about here, and that seam can't stand proud, so it has to have a recess in the wheel itself to allow for that seam to sit inside it. So what I'm going to do, that's two. I'm just going to use a marker pen. I'll put a mark in there. So now that I've got my mark here, I'm not sure whether you can see this. So what I need to do now is to use some masking tape. I'm just going to see if the tape matches up at the back. So that's just going to help me see the line that I'm going to cut in. So I'm not going to cut it that way, obviously. I'm going to cut it around the wheel. Normally I would cut the grooves with a knife, but someone commented, why don't I use a Dremel? So I thought I'd give it a go. Let's have a see. Right, I'm going to slow it down a bit. Yeah, just how I thought with the tool like a Dremel and something like this that's quite soft, rubbery. Yeah, I don't like what's giving off for a start, and yeah, a knife is much more controllable. So back to a knife. I'm just gonna cut in with a knife. I've got the two grooves cut here, so there's going to be a seam here that joins the actual steering wheel circumference to this inner piece here. Obviously I haven't got the white leather, so I'm not going to do the white leather part, but I can do this black leather bit. So I need to measure the outside edge of this, deduct quite a lot because the inside edge and the outside edge are completely different. I'll measure both, see what the difference is, and I'll cut my leather kind of to that dimensions within reason. I won't know how much to take out of the leather out of this measurement here because of the stretch in the leather. So the measurement is just a rough guide. The outside is almost 31 inches and the inside is 26 inches. That's a 4-inch difference. Now I can't cut it with a 4-inch difference on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the leather out. So all I need to do now is to draw out my 4 inches by, it was 30 or 26. Now I'm going to take 2 inches off that measurement, so but only on the 30, so that bring it down closer to 28, 26. So there's only an inch difference now. I'm going to trim off a little bit more on this end. I left it a little bit long. I'm not going to trim off much. So that's my piece of leather that's going to go around here. It's way too short once I've put a seam allowance on that, but when it's stretched it won't be. Now I'm not going to put straight seam allowances on the end. I'm going to make them scalloped. I'll come in about a seam allowance, that's 3/8 of an inch. Put a mark, well I might do a line, and roughly where the centre is. I want to come in like that. The same. So that's as far as I can go until the white leather turns up, which will be here tomorrow. Now that I've cut the grooves in the wheel, I'm going to measure this distance around here, just like I did with the black part that I'm going to do. Measure it, I'm going to leave it over length, and I'm going to stretch it into place and pin it to the wheel. I need the leather to be stretched before I mark these in. If I don't, then it won't be right. I'm going to do the outside of the wheel, I'll do this front spoke here, and then I'll do the back spoke. Exactly the same, pin it, stretch it, mark it, and then I can cut it out, add in the seam allowance as well. So I've now got the new piece on, and I'm just going to make sure it's centralised. I'm just going to use a pencil. I'm going to find the grooves that I've cut in and start to mark them on the leather. Also going to mark the groove in the leather where it's going to join the black. this should be symmetrical, so I'm going to do this half, or this section, I'm going to fold it in half to the point I've marked on the leather and copy that over to the other side. So that should be fine. I need to now do the same with the spokes. So cut the leather oversized, but roughly the right shape. Stretch it, mark it, cut it, and then I can sew it all together. Now I'm not sure whether I want to have black thread all around, or black where the black is and white where the white is, or the opposite, white thread where the black leather is, or black thread where the white leather is. Not entirely sure. I think I might do white where the white is and black where the black is, but we shall see. I've now sewn the white and the black pieces together, and this is just a test fit, just to make sure everything's alright, not overly tight, and that everything lines up. Now I'm happy with that, so I'm going to remove this, sew these two pieces onto the white part of the wheel, and then I'm going to stitch all the way around the edge of the wheel, and that's so I can lace it up. Now, I'm not going to show you stitching everything together, but I'll come back to you when I'm ready to lace the wheel up. That's a time consuming bit. I'm going to lace the black bit up in black and the white bit up in white. So I've now got the cover on the wheel, it's all stitched together. I've done the row stitching around the outside, and I'm now about to start to lace it on. Now this is not the easiest thing to film because I've got to have my head right in where I'm stitching, but I'll do my best. It is just literally a case of not actually stitching it, I'm lacing it up. So every other stitch that's around the wheel, I'm going to pick up underneath that with another piece of thread and go all the way around the wheel, almost like you're lacing a pair of shoes up, but the lace doesn't have two pieces, it's just one. So through. And I'm going to do the black first, so I'll do all of the black and then I'll do the white after. Now the needle I'm using is I'm not sure whether you can see this, it's not a standard needle, it's got a bend in it and it's got quite a wide spade point to it. It's not sharp like a normal needle would be. Last thing I want to do is to scratch the leather with a normal needle. Like I said, I'm not actually sewing through the leather, I'm just picking up underneath each stitch, or each subsequent stitch. So pick up on one, miss one, pick up on one, miss one. So as you can see, I'm not tightening the thread up yet. I'm going to get it laced up. So what I need to do now is to tighten it up. So I'm just gonna pull on the laces. So I'll do this once and then have to do it again. I'm doing it, making sure that this is as straight as I can get it. I now need to make sure that this seam is sitting in the groove correctly before I go any further. I might have to adjust everything a little bit and push the leather one way or the other. I'm going to take this to the bench, just make sure it's all even, and I'll bring it back and then tighten all the lacing up. Final bit of tightening up, and then I will lock off this thread. Right guys, that top part is on, but we've hit a major problem. My fault completely. I've done all the white stitching on the front part of the white part, so I forgot to put the stitching on this part here, so I need to remove it and then stitch it and then put it back on again. So all that work I've just done putting this part of the wheel on is all for nothing. So yeah, I have to cut it off. So what I'll do is I'll cut straight through the stitching, pull the stitching out, remove the cover, stitch the white bit that I've missed, and then do that all over again. I'm not going to film me doing it all over again because you've just seen it, and I'm not going to now film doing the white part. But what I will do, you've got a good idea of what it's going to look like. But what I will do is I'll show you when the wheel's done. Yeah, I've just probably wasted an hour and a half doing that. So yeah, these things happen. I'm not going to stress about it. Some people would be fuming, but not my kind of deal, that one. I'll just unpick it. Just a case of cutting through the stitching that I've stitched in already. Now, to stop me cutting through the leather, I'm just going to unpick it really. It won't take long to unpick this, but it is just a little bit of a pain. And it's not the first time I've had to unpick a wheel, and I'm sure it won't be the last. But these things happen. You can't get everything right first time every time. So I'll come back to you when this is on and you can see the result. Right guys, that's the wheel done, but I have a problem. Now you may be able to see, but here on this sensor bit I've got something on it which I can't remove. I don't know what it is. It might be a little bit of glue that's on there that won't come off. So I'm going to have to remove this now and make a new one. So that'll be fun. Exactly the same as making the original one, no different. So I'm not going to film me making another one, but the wheel is done. You can see what it'll be like when it's completely finished. It was a little bit of a mission. The white was a little bit tight in places, so it was a struggle getting it on, but I'd rather it be tight than not baggy, like I said before. That stops any movement in the cover or in the wheel. So now remove this and do a new one. There we go, that's the new one with no mark on the front of it. It still needs to dry out, so I'll leave that for a couple of days and let it dry, fit it to the wheel, parcel it up, and Matt, you can have your steering wheel back. I will drop you an email telling you it's done before this video's out. So if you enjoyed that video, give it the old thumbs up and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching, bye.